You are here because you are frustrated. You have the vision. You have goals. You know exactly what you need to do to become the person you want to be. And yet, you are not doing it. You find yourself frozen, procrastinating, or choosing the easy path of immediate pleasure over the hard path of long-term success. I want you to listen closely. This is not a character flaw. You are not broken. You are simply fighting against millions of years of biological engineering. The reality is that your brain is wired for laziness. It is designed to conserve energy, seek safety, and hunt for immediate gratification. This is the pleasure principle. Your biology is actively working to sabotage your discipline because it thinks it is saving your life. To master yourself, you must understand the war taking place inside your skull. It is a conflict between two distinct mechanisms. First, you have the prefrontal cortex. Think of this as the Albert Einstein living in your head. This is the CEO. It handles logic, planning, and your long-term goals. It knows you should be working out, writing that report, or learning that language. But then, you have the limbic system. This is the ancient, emotional part of your brain. Think of this as a skittish, grumpy house cat. It does not care about your 5-year plan. It only cares about right now. It wants safety. It wants food. It wants comfort. Here is the problem. The cat is faster than Einstein. The emotional brain processes information in fractions of a second, while your logical brain takes time to boot up. When you feel stress, your logical brain shuts down, and the primitive brain hijacks the controls. This is why you fail. In this audio experience, we are going to dismantle the Neuro-Discipline protocol. We are not going to rely on motivation, which is fleeting. We are going to use actionable, neuroscience-based tactics to trick your brain into doing the hard work. We are going to bypass your natural instincts for laziness. We will cover 4 specific protocols. First, the neurobiology of laziness. Second, psychological tactics to hack your impulses. Third, environmental engineering to automate discipline. And fourth, mindset mastery to rewire your neural pathways. Stop blaming yourself. Start engineering your brain. Let's begin. Part 1. The neurobiology of laziness. You are fighting a war inside your own head. And right now, you are losing. To understand why you cannot seem to force yourself to do the work you know you should do, we have to look at the battlefield. This is part 1, the neurobiology of laziness. We established in the introduction that you have 2 brains. You have the prefrontal cortex, your inner Einstein, who wants to build a business, get fit, and learn new skills. And you have the limbic system, that skittish cat, who just wants to eat, sleep, and stay safe. The reason the cat usually wins is a matter of pure economics. Your logical brain is expensive to run. It requires massive amounts of energy and glucose to think, plan, and suppress impulses. Your emotional brain, however, is cheap. It is automatic. It requires almost zero energy to feel fear or desire. Because your biology is designed to survive, not to succeed, it will always default to the path of least resistance to save energy. This is not a character defect. This is evolution. This biological drive is governed by what we call the pleasure principle. This principle states that the human mind does everything it can to seek out pleasure and avoid pain. It sounds simple, but here is the critical nuance. Your drive to avoid pain is far stronger than your drive to gain pleasure. Think about it. If I offered you a treasure chest filled with gold, but you had to jump in front of a moving truck to get it, you would not do it. Your instinct to avoid the pain of death overrides the pleasure of wealth. In your daily life, pain isn't usually physical danger. It is the discomfort of boredom. It is the fear of failure. It is the mental strain of deep work. Your limbic system perceives these things as threats. So, when you try to sit down to work, your brain screams pain and steers you toward the pleasure of scrolling through your phone. This brings us to the fuel of this entire system, dopamine. Dopamine is not just about pleasure. It is about the anticipation of pleasure. It is the chemical that motivates you to act. The problem is that in the modern world, you are surrounded by cheap dopamine. Social media, junk food, video games, these things provide a massive dopamine spike with zero effort. Discipline, by definition, is the absence of immediate dopamine. It is high effort for a delayed reward. Your brain, acting like a junkie, looks at the option of work hard for reward later versus check phone for reward now, and it chooses the now almost every time. But it gets worse. Let's talk about what happens when you get stressed. When you are overwhelmed, anxious, or tired, your brain enters crisis mode. It engages the fight-or-flight response. This floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Here is the frightening part. This chemical cocktail effectively shuts down your prefrontal cortex. It takes your inner Einstein offline. When you are stressed, you physically lose the capacity for long-term planning and impulse control. You revert to your most primal instincts. This explains why, after a long, stressful day at work, you are far more likely to break your diet or skip the gym. Your executive brain has left the building, and the skittish cat is driving the car. This phenomenon is linked to a concept called ego depletion. Imagine your willpower is a battery. Every time you make a conscious decision, every time you resist a cookie, every time you force yourself to focus, you drain a little bit of that battery. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. If you spend your morning making trivial decisions, what to wear, what to eat, what email to answer first, you are burning through the limited fuel you need for the big, important tasks later. By 2 p.m., your battery is empty. You have no glucose left in the tank to fuel self-discipline. So, if you feel like you start the day strong and collapse by the evening, this is why. You are bankrupting your own brain. The situation seems grim. You are fighting against energy conservation, the pleasure principle, dopamine addiction, stress responses, and a limited battery of willpower. But now that you know the enemy, you can defeat it. You cannot change your biology, but you can outsmart it. You can trick the brain. We have established that your brain is a survival machine, not a success machine. It fights you because it wants to save energy. So, how do we win? We cannot outweight the brain. We cannot out-argue the brain. We must outmaneuver it. Welcome to Part 2, Psychological Tactics. Here, we weaponize neuroscience to hack your impulses. The first protocol is designed to defeat the speed of the limbic system. Remember, the emotional brain reacts instantly, while the logical brain is slow. To win, you must beat the gap. We call this the 5-second rule. This concept, popularized by Mel Robbins, is biologically sound. The moment you feel an impulse to act on a goal, the moment you think, I should speak up, or I should put on my running shoes, you have a window of exactly 5 seconds before your brain kills that impulse. In that 5-second window, your monkey mind is booting up. It is preparing to flood you with excuses. It's too cold. I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. You must move before the monkey wakes up. Here is the mechanism. When you feel the instinct to act, you physically count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, you move. You do not think. You move. You stand up. You pick up the phone. You walk out the door. Why does this work? The act of counting distracts the brain from generating excuses. It forces the prefrontal cortex to engage. But you must be physical. You cannot just think about it. Action overrides emotion. Once you are moving, you need to sustain that momentum. This brings us to the second tactic, temptation bundling. Your brain loves dopamine. It hates the boredom of discipline. So, we are going to bribe it. Temptation bundling is the art of pairing a want with a should. You take a behavior that provides immediate gratification, like listening to a true crime podcast, drinking your favorite expensive coffee, or watching a specific show. You take that indulgence and you chemically bond it to a disciplined habit. You make a rule. I am only allowed to listen to this podcast while I am cleaning the house. I am only allowed to drink this coffee while I am processing my inbox. You are not denying the pleasure principle. You are leveraging it. You are satisfying the limbic system's need for fun while satisfying the prefrontal cortex's need for work. Suddenly, the gym becomes the only place you can get your dopamine fix from your favorite show. You stop dreading the workout and start craving the entertainment. Now, let's address the problem of short-termism. Your brain is terrible at predicting the future. It sees future you as a stranger. This is why you sabotage your future self. You don't feel their pain. To fix this, we use the time travel protocol, specifically the 10-10-10 rule. When you are standing on the edge of a bad decision, like skipping a workout to eat pizza, your brain is only thinking about right now. You need to force it to calculate the cost. Ask yourself 3 questions. How will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How will I feel in 10 hours? And how will I feel in 10 days? In 10 minutes, you might feel good. The pizza tastes great. The dopamine is hitting. In 10 hours, the pleasure is gone. Now you feel bloated. You feel regret. You feel the shame of breaking your promise to yourself. In 10 days, the pizza is a distant memory, but the loss of momentum is real. You are now a person who quits. By running this calculation, you expose the fraud of immediate gratification. You reveal that the pleasure is fleeting, but the pain of regret lasts much longer. You force the limbic system to confront the data of the prefrontal cortex. Finally, we must hack your perception of effort. Big goals are paralyzing. If I tell you to write a book, your brain sees a mountain. It freezes. It triggers a fear response. This is where we apply the goal gradient hypothesis. Science shows that organisms work faster the closer they get to a reward. A rat runs faster at the end of a maze. You buy coffee faster when your stamp card is almost full. You can hack this by moving the goalposts. Do not focus on the mountain. Focus on the pebble. Break the massive, scary task into something so small it is insulting. Do not try to write a chapter. Your goal is to write 3 sentences. Do not send the inside. Do not try to lose 50 pounds. Your goal is to pack a gym bag. By making the goal tiny, you lower the barrier to entry. You make it impossible for the brain to say, "That's too hard." And here is the magic. Once you achieve that tiny goal, once you write those 3 sentences, you get a hit of dopamine. You feel a sense of completion. That chemical kick pushes you to do a little more. You are artificially creating a finish line right in front of your face to trigger the brain's drive to cross it. These tactics, the 5-second rule, temptation bundling, 10-10-10, and the goal gradient, are your offensive weapons. They allow you to interrupt the brain's lazy coding and insert new instructions. But even the best tactics fail if you are fighting in a hostile environment. If your surroundings are designed to distract you, willpower will eventually break. We have talked about the biology of laziness. We have talked about the psychological tricks to jumpstart your brain. But now, we have to talk about the silent killer of discipline, your environment. You can have the strongest will in the world. You can count backward from 5 all day long. But if you are trying to lose weight while living in a bakery, you are going to fail. Willpower is a finite resource. It is a battery that drains with every moment of resistance. If you force your brain to constantly say no to distractions that are sitting right in front of your face, you will eventually run out of energy. The skittish cat will take over and you will break. Let's engineer your surroundings. Part 3. Environmental engineering. The goal here is simple. We want to design a life where discipline is not a choice. We want to make discipline the default setting. Let's look at the data. A study at Cornell University placed jars of Hershey's Kisses on the desks of employees. Half the jars were clear, half were opaque, half were on the desk, half were 6 feet away. The results were terrifyingly simple. When the chocolates were visible and within reach, people ate them mindlessly. When the jar was opaque or placed just 6 feet away, requiring a tiny amount of effort to stand up and get one, consumption dropped drastically. The lesson? Friction controls behavior. You are lazy. Use that laziness to your advantage. If you want to stop a bad habit, increase the friction. If you want to build a good habit, reduce the friction. This is called the default effect. Look at organ donation rates. In countries where you have to check a box to become a donor, opt-in, participation is low, around 27%. In countries where you are automatically a donor, unless you check a box to leave, opt-out, participation is over 95%. Humans do not choose what is best, they choose what is default. So, audit your environment. What is your default? If your phone is on your desk while you work, your default is distraction. If the cookies are on the counter, your default is snacking. If your running shoes are buried in the closet, your default is staying on the couch. You must aggressively optimize your defaults. Put the phone in another room. Put the unhealthy food in the trash, not the cupboard, the trash. Put the vitamins next to your toothbrush. Put the guitar on a stand in the middle of the living room. Make the good choice, the lazy choice. Now, let's talk about protecting your mental battery. We discussed ego depletion, the fact that decision-making burns glucose and lowers willpower. To protect your discipline for the big things, you must stop making decisions about the small things. This is why Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck and jeans every day. He was not being fashionable. He was being tactical. He was automating a trivial decision to save his brainpower for Apple. You must do the same. Automate your breakfast. Automate your wardrobe. Automate your gym time. If you have to ask yourself, what should I eat? Or, when should I work out? You are wasting energy. But what about when things go wrong? What about when life throws a curveball? For this, we use a programming language for the brain called implementation intentions. We call this the if-then protocol. Behavior chains are powerful because they remove the need for conscious thought in the heat of the moment. You preload the decision. You write the code. If trigger happens, then I will do action. If it is 6 p.m., then I will put on my gym clothes. If the waiter asks for my drink order, then I will ask for water with lemon. If my phone rings during deep work, then I will ignore it. By deciding the then before the if happens, you strip the emotional brain of its power to argue. You are not making a choice. You are executing a command. Studies show this technique increases success rates by 2 to 3 times. Finally, we need to hack the brain's need for feedback. We know the brain loves dopamine. The problem with long-term goals is that the win is too far away. You work hard today, but you don't see the results today. Your brain feels like it is working for free. To fix this, you must weaponize the progress principle. Harvard research shows that the single biggest motivator for performance is the feeling of making progress. You need to visualize your momentum. Don't just keep a mental checklist. Make it physical. Get a jar. Every time you finish a workout, put a marble in the jar. Get a calendar. Every day you stick to your diet, put a big red X on that day. Make a chart and color it in. When you see that jar filling up, or you see that chain of X's on the calendar, you get a hit of satisfaction. You get your dopamine. But more importantly, you create a new fear, the fear of breaking the chain. You start protecting your progress by engineering your environment, optimizing your defaults, using if-then code, and visualizing your progress. You stop relying on the fragile Einstein in your prefrontal cortex. You build a system that pulls you toward success, even when you feel lazy. But there is one final piece of the puzzle. You can have the tactics, and you can have the environment, but if your internal operating system, your beliefs, and your resilience is corrupt, you will still crash. We have arrived at the final frontier. You understand your biology. You have the psychological weapons. You have engineered your environment. But none of this matters if your internal operating system is corrupted by the wrong beliefs. We have reached part 4, Mindset Mastery. This is about rewiring the software of your brain. The first shift you must make is to stop obsessing over the goal. This sounds counterintuitive, but listen, goals are abstract. They exist in the future. You cannot control the future. When you stare at the top of the mountain, the 100 pounds you need to lose, or the $1 million you want to earn, you feel small. You feel the distance. And your brain, sensing that massive effort, triggers a fear response. It urges you to quit before you even start. You must shift your focus from the outcome to the process. Forget the mountain. Look at the pebble at your feet. Your job is not to lose weight. Your job is to eat this one healthy meal. Your job is not to write a book. Your job is to write for 30 minutes today. When you obsess over the process, you take control back from the future and bring it into the present. And when you execute that tiny daily process, you win. You bank a victory. You prove to yourself that you are capable. This repetition is not just psychological. It is physical. It is based on neuroplasticity. There is a rule in neuroscience called Hebb's law. Cells that wire together, fire together. Every time you exercise discipline, you are physically thickening the neural pathways in your prefrontal cortex. You are building a highway for discipline. But every time you succumb to laziness, you are building a highway for failure. You can hack this wiring using self-talk. And I don't mean standing in the mirror giving yourself empty compliments. I mean tactical command language. A massive study by the BBC found that specific verbal self-talk, literally saying, "I can do this," or "I will beat this score," was far more effective than just visualizing success. You must become the commander of your own brain. When you feel an urge to quit, you do not stay silent. You speak. You say, "I lack the self-discipline to do this, but I am doing it anyway." Call it out. Now, let's talk about the strategy of abstinence versus moderation. We live in a world that preaches balance. Everything in moderation. For the disciplined mind, this is a trap. Moderation is expensive. It requires you to make a decision every single time you face a temptation. Should I have 1 cookie? Maybe 2? Is 3 too many? You are constantly negotiating with yourself. This burns through your willpower battery. Abstinence is cheap. The decision is already made. The answer is no. If you struggle with something, whether it is sugar, social media, or video games, do not try to moderate it. Kill it. Go cold turkey. It is infinitely easier to keep the tiger in the cage than to take it for a walk on a leash. This leads us to the lies we tell ourselves. We call them excuses. You must understand the difference between an excuse and a reason. An excuse is a way to shift blame. I was late because of traffic. I didn't work out because I was tired. The goal of an excuse is to protect your ego and absolve you of responsibility. A reason accepts responsibility. I was late because I didn't leave a buffer for traffic. I didn't work out because I prioritized sleep. Excuses are the language of victims. Reasons are the language of owners. If you want to master your mind, you must stop making excuses. When you fail, you own it. You analyze it, and you fix it. Finally, we must discuss the core of the disciplined life, embracing discomfort. We are sold a lie that life should be easy. We are sold shortcuts and hacks. But the truth is, self-discipline is suffering. It is the willingness to be uncomfortable. You must view discomfort not as a problem to be solved, but as a vaccine. When you voluntarily expose yourself to cold showers, or you fast for 16 hours, or you force yourself to run in the rain, you are inoculating yourself against stress. You are proving to your limbic system that discomfort will not kill you. You are training your brain to detach from the feeling of, I don't want to. It does not matter what you want. It matters what you do. When the impulse to quit hits you, and it will, use the why analysis. Ask yourself, why do I want to stop? Because I'm tired. Why does being tired matter? Because it feels bad. Why does feeling bad stop me? By the time you ask why 5 times, you will realize your impulse is hollow. You will see it for what it is, a temporary emotion trying to derail a permanent goal. We have covered the ground. We have mapped the territory. You now understand that your brain is a biological machine wired for survival, not success. You know that the limbic system, that skittish cat, will always try to hijack your potential to save energy. But you are no longer a victim of your biology. You have the codes. You have the psychological tactics. You will use the 5-second rule to move before your excuses wake up. You will use temptation bundling to make the hard work fun. You will use the 10-10-10 rule to remember that the pain of regret lasts longer than the pain of discipline. You will optimize your defaults. You will hide the distractions. You will automate the trivial decisions to protect your willpower for the things that matter. And you have the mindset mastery. You will stop looking at the mountain and start moving the pebbles. You will reject the soft comfort of moderation and embrace the power of abstinence. You will stop making excuses and start owning your reasons. The book Neuro-Discipline is not just a manual. It is a call to arms. It is a reminder that the life you want, the body, the career, the freedom, is waiting for you on the other side of discomfort. The next time you feel that resistance, the next time you feel the urge to procrastinate, realize that this is not a problem. This is the practice. This is the moment where you rewire your brain. Do not wait for motivation. Motivation is a myth. Do not wait to feel like it. You never will. Count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.